Daniel Ek sold his company for over $1 million at 23, bought a Ferrari, retired, and 3 months later wanted to end it all. What happened next? Created Spotify and made him worth $9 billion. This is that story. So Daniel Ek is sitting in his red Ferrari, driving to another Stockholm nightclub, surrounded by people who don't actually care about him, and he's thinking, what is the point of any of this? He's got money, he's got the car, he's got the apartment in the middle of Stockholm, everything he thought would make him happy. And he's completely miserable. The worst part, he's only 23 years old. Most people at 23 are broke and figuring things out. Daniel Ek had already figured it out, or so he thought, and discovered it was all garbage. But let's back up, because Daniel Ek didn't start as some privileged tech bro. He grew up in Ragsville, a rough suburb south of Stockholm. His biological father was out of the picture, his mother worked at a childcare center, money was tight. Pretty normal Swedish kid except for one thing. At 13 years old, Daniel Ek started a business building websites for clients from his bedroom. His first client paid him $100. Then he charged the next one $200. Then eventually $5,000 per website. By 18, this kid was making $50,000 a month. That's $600,000 a year before he could even vote. He recruited his classmates to help him build websites, bribed them with video games to work in the school computer lab. His parents had no idea he was making this much money until he started dragging home massive TVs. After high school in 2002, Daniel Ek enrolled at the Royal Institute of Technology. He lasted 8 weeks. Why sit in the lecture hall when you're already making more than your professors? So he dropped out and took senior roles at Tradera, an auction site later bought by eBay, and became CTO at Stardoll, some fashion game for teenagers. But the entrepreneurial itch was still there. In 2005, Daniel Ek founded Advertigo, an online advertising company. This was peak mid-2000s internet boom. Everyone was throwing money at digital advertising. Trade Doubler, a big Swedish marketing firm, wanted to buy it. In 2006, when Daniel Ek was 23 years old, they paid him around $1.25 million. At 23. Most people at 23 are eating instant noodles and trying to figure out how health insurance works. Daniel Ek just became a millionaire. And here's where the story gets interesting. Daniel Ek thought he'd won. He bought that red Ferrari, got a luxury apartment in central Stockholm, started hitting nightclubs every night with his new friends. This was it, right? The dream everyone chases. Financial freedom at 23. He could retire and just enjoy life. Except 3 months later, Daniel Ek was sitting in that Ferrari completely depressed. The girls he was dating were only interested in his money. His party friends disappeared the moment things got tough. The nightclubs felt hollow. The car meant nothing. He'd achieved what everyone said would make him happy, and it was the emptiest he'd ever felt. No one teaches you what to do after you hit financial freedom. You just assume you'll figure it out when you get there. Daniel Ek got there and realized he had no purpose, no meaning, nothing driving him forward. So he moved to a cabin near his childhood neighborhood to be close to his family and started thinking, what actually mattered? What problem was worth solving? And this is where Daniel Ek had the realization that would change everything. Back in 2002, when Daniel Ek was 19, Napster had just shut down. You remember Napster, the service that let people share music files for free and nearly destroyed the music industry? After Napster died, Kazoo took over. Then more piracy sites kept appearing. Everyone was stealing music. The music industry's solution was to sue teenagers and shut down websites. Daniel Ek saw this and thought, you can't legislate away piracy. You can pass all the laws you want, people will just create new sites. The real problem was that piracy was better than any legal option. It was faster, easier, had every song in one place. What if you could build something better than piracy that actually paid artists? That idea became Spotify. And look, it sounded completely insane. Record labels hated streaming, they made way more from iTunes downloads. Artists were skeptical, and Daniel Ek would have to convince every major label to license their entire catalog to some untested Swedish startup. Most people would have given up before starting. But Daniel Ek had just sold Advertigo to Trade Doubler, and their co-founder was Martin Lorentzen, who'd also made his money and was looking for his next challenge. They clicked. In April 2006, the same year Daniel Ek sold Advertigo, he and Martin Lorentzen founded Spotify in Stockholm. Now here's what nobody tells you. Spotify almost died 4 times in the first 18 months. Daniel Ek spent those months flying around the world, sitting in boardrooms, trying to convince music executives to take a chance on streaming. These executives wanted nothing to do with it. They didn't understand the technology, they didn't trust this young guy, they were terrified of killing their iTunes money. Daniel Ek was working out of a 3-bedroom apartment above a coffee shop with a handful of engineers burning through cash with no revenue because they couldn't launch without licenses. The stress destroyed him. Daniel Ek started with a full head of hair. By the end, he was completely bald. He gained 30 pounds. He thought every month that Spotify would fail. But in October 2008, after 2 years of grinding, Daniel Ek finally got enough licenses to launch Spotify in Europe, and people loved it. The interface was clean, music played instantly, you could use it free with ads or pay for premium. It was exactly what he promised, better than piracy. In 2010, venture capitalists started paying attention. Some estimated Spotify could be worth $4 billion. By 2017, Billboard named Daniel Ek the most powerful person in the music industry. In April 2018, Spotify went public with a market value of $27 billion. Today, Daniel Ek's net worth is over $9 billion. Spotify has 600 million users, and it all started because he got depressed in a Ferrari and realized money without meaning is worthless. So, what can you actually learn from Daniel Ek going from zero to breakthrough? First, start early with what interests you. Daniel Ek was 13 when he started building websites because he liked computers and wanted money. He didn't wait for permission or the perfect time. Most people waste years preparing to start. Daniel Ek just started, learned by doing, built a foundation for everything else. If you're interested in something, start now. Not next year, now. You'll learn more in 6 months of building than 6 years of planning. Second, your first success might teach you what you don't want. Daniel Ek sold his company and had everything he thought he wanted: Ferrari, apartment, nightclubs. It made him miserable because it wasn't connected to anything meaningful. Too many people chase money or status as the end goal, then get there and realize it's empty. Daniel Ek learned at 23 instead of 53 that purpose matters more than possessions. That lesson led him to Spotify. Your breakthrough probably won't come from doing what you think you're supposed to do. It'll come from discovering what actually drives you after everything else fails. Third, solve problems everyone thinks are impossible. The entire music industry thought streaming wouldn't work. They thought you couldn't convince people to pay when piracy was free. They thought you couldn't build a legal service better than illegal ones. Daniel Ek ignored all that and built Spotify anyway, even when it almost died 4 times, even when stress made him lose his hair. The biggest opportunities exist where everyone sees impossibility. When experts tell you something can't be done, that's usually the signal that if you figure it out, you'll have no competition. Daniel Ek went from bedroom in Racksville to $9 billion net worth because he started early, learned what mattered, and solved an impossible problem. That's the pattern.